Thank you, Leader, and I share the Honourable Leader of the Opposition's sentiments on this whole issue of freedom of expression. We all know that in any country, and a country's social, economic and political future and stability rests on freedom of expression, and that freedom of expression invariably is expressed through a free and fair and credible media. After the abrogation of the 1997 Constitution in 2009, I think we've seen some very, very turbulent, devastating and disturbing trends within the media industry, media organizations, and indeed, difficulties for our journalists who have, I believe, done an extremely good job given the restrictions and the difficulties that they have. I just want to focus, there's been a lot said about the Media Industry Development Decree. We maintain that it's a regressive decree. It suppresses media freedom because it imposes restrictions and prescribes heavy penalties. And we have already called in our submission in Parliament that the government must repeal the Media Industry Development Decree because we believe that the media should not be regulated by the state or any government. We also believe that the Media Industry Development Decree is essentially an enforcer of government's agenda as far as the media is concerned. And just 2 days ago, the MIDA chairman spoke about the need to focus, to shift on freedom of expression and ethics. Words are mere rhetoric, because the MIDA decree renders freedom and ethics meaningless. And let me tell you why. Part 2 of the decree outlines the structure and functions of the Media Industry Development Authority. The minister appoints the chairperson and 5 other members and can also remove them. This is an obvious and major conflict of interest. Section 17 provides the authority immunity from legal proceedings, civil or criminal. While the media is bound by restrictive rules and regulations, the media authority can act with virtual impunity. Where is the balance and fairness government is preaching about? Where is the accountability? Furthermore, Section 22 states, content must not include material which is A, against the public interest or order, B, against national interest, C, creates communal discord. This is a very broad provision open to interpretation by the government. And basically, it's like a noose around the media's neck. This provision, in our view, is unnecessary because offences are already adequately covered under the Crimes Decree, under the Public Order Act on racial and religious vilification, hate speech, and economic sabotage. Part 5, covering enforcement, allows the authority to force the disclosure of specific documents or information as well as the right to enter, search, and confiscate documents. When it comes to breach of confidentiality, the standard practice in democracies is that it is referred to the courts, which rely on precedents and can be expected to come up with fair, impartial judgments. In Fiji, unfortunately, this function has been usurped by MIDA, which is controlled by government through appointments made by the minister. This is yet another noose around the media's neck. Let me just say a little bit about Media Tribunal. And Part 8 deals with the Media Tribunal, which consists of a chairperson, a qualified judge appointed by the President on the advice of the all-powerful Attorney General. The tribunal adjudicates complaints received from MIDA. It has to comply with the directions of the responsible minister pertaining policy. The tribunal also has to consider the Attorney General's submissions during certain proceedings. This paves the way for the AG to potentially influence hearing. It makes hearings vulnerable to political interference. It increases the level of government control and pressure on the tribunal. This is by no means an independent tribunal. It is tied to government in too many ways. Part 10 deals with the powers of the tribunal, including ordering fines of up to 100,000 Fijian against media companies, 25,000 against publishers, editors, and 1,000 against other media employees as monetary compensation to complainants. Upon conviction for any breaches of the media code, a media organization could be fined 100,000, a publisher, editor 25,000, and/or 2 years imprisonment, and a journalist or media 1,000 and/or 2 years imprisonment. This is over the top and unnecessary, especially when we have defamation laws in place. It is an example of a duplicitous and tricky legislation, a waste of time and resources. Such payouts can ruin media companies and journalists. To protect themselves, journalists and media companies will self-censor. They will take a very precautionary approach, and they will not venture into anything beyond what they are definitely sure that is not going to violate any aspects of the media decree. So really, there is no justification for the media decree to provide social, economic, and political stability. This is what the government continues to say when it tries to defend the media decree. I think people have lost faith in some sense in the mainstream news media, and especially with some media organizations. And instead, a lot of them are relying on blogs where people are posting comments, some of which are possibly full of rumors, misinformation, incitement to racial violence, calls for revolution, hate crime, and even terrorism. So, in our view, government's misguided media policy is to be partly blamed for this sorry state of affairs. In other words, the media decree has done nothing for social stability. In fact, it has increased tensions. On the issue of balance, there is a requirement that all news stories have to be balanced or they can't be published. This is a further sign of legislation, in my view, gone mad. This provision has simply become a loophole to evade media scrutiny by not responding to media questions. But if a story is positive towards a government, this legal requirement is ignored without consequence. This is selective use of the media law by government for its own advantage. What we are saying is that the media decree is open to abuse by the state. Just yesterday, story and the publication in the Fiji Sun today, Thursday, 15 January, running in entirety the whole government response to the opposition's concerns regarding political party office resourcing, without any semblance of balance and accuracy, perfectly illustrates what we are saying. Every international organization of repute has expressed concern about the regressive and draconian provisions of the MIDA decree. The latest was the United Nations Human Rights Commission late last year. So, when we talk about genuine democracy, when we talk about equal citizenry, freedom of expression, accountability, transparency, which are ethics that the MIDA chairman and others in government want to parade, can only be achieved through a free and fair and credible, non-regulated media. And we, once again, call on the government to bring in to Parliament a legislation to repeal the media decree so that we can once again establish freedom of expression in this country, for which free media is very, very important. And the MIDA decree cannot be accepted as something which will promote free media in this country. Thank you.